My daughter honestly thought I didn't see the fine, chalky white powder she was slipping into my dinner. I was sitting quietly at our scratched, worn kitchen table in our small, cramped Desert Palms apartment, silently watching my only child, Jessica, stir my Campbell's chicken noodle soup. She had that bright, fake smile plastered across her contoured face, the exact same meticulously rehearsed expression she used every single day for her endless Instagram stories. The same carefully crafted lie that had successfully fooled 50,000 devoted followers into believing she was some kind of independent, self-made success story. But my sharp, observant eyes caught the unmistakable, powdery white residue clinging stubbornly to the edge of the wooden cooking spoon. I saw her nervously, quickly dart her dark eyes toward the open door of her bedroom, where her expensive, professional-grade ring light was already fully set up and glowing ominously in the background. And I noticed the guilty, rapid way she actively avoided my direct gaze when she carefully placed the steaming, poisoned bowl directly in front of my tired hands. "Here you go, Daddy," she said, her voice dripping with that sickeningly sweet, practiced tone she always used whenever she was recording her viral content. "I made it extra special and warm for you tonight." I didn't confront her immediately. I just smiled weakly, giving her the exact tired, grateful expression she expected from her exhausted, overworked father. And the second she turned her back to quickly grab her expensive smartphone off the kitchen counter, I swiftly switched our two identical ceramic bowls. She had no idea that I had been quietly, carefully watching her every single move for weeks. Let me tell you a hard, brutal truth about being invisible in this modern, fast-paced world. You are part of the architecture, a silent, unimportant ghost pushing a heavy yellow mop bucket down sterile, brightly lit hospital corridors. But when you are that exact same invisible janitor's beautiful, 22-year-old daughter with 50,000 engaged Instagram followers, suddenly every single person in the world sees you, praises you, and idolizes you. Jessica had successfully built her entire online digital empire on a foundation of absolute, calculated lies. She documented lavish, $400 shopping sprees and $200 artisanal dinners at exclusive, trendy downtown restaurants I had never even heard of. Her prominently displayed social media bio proudly read, "Self-made entrepreneur." Hustle hard, self-made, that particular, carefully chosen phrase was bitterly rich. I had raised her alone since she was a tiny, fragile 6-year-old girl, ever since her beloved mother tragically died in a horrific, multi-car accident on the treacherous I-10 interstate. I had spent 2 entire decades wearing the exact same faded, patched navy blue work uniform with Marcus Maintenance, stitched crookedly on the chest until the cheap threads literally started peeling off. But Jessica's 50,000 devoted, adoring followers didn't know any of that harsh, grueling reality, and they all genuinely foolishly thought she had earned every single penny of it herself, through sheer, relentless hard work and entrepreneurial brilliance. The thousands of comments on her daily posts were always the exact same predictable, sickening chorus of undeserved praise. Goals: how did you do it at such a young age? You are such an inspiration to independent women. Teach me your incredible financial secrets. The real ugly secret was me. The secret was me buying all the groceries, paying all the utility bills, and covering her car insurance, while she selfishly spent all her supposedly hard-earned influencer income on expensive props to maintain her fabricated, wealthy aesthetic. I first discovered the undeniable, damning receipts hidden in her messy room one quiet Tuesday afternoon when I was trying to fix her broken, jammed closet door. All of this reckless spending occurred exactly while she was publicly posting long, preachy captions about being financially independent and giving her gullible followers serious advice about hustling smart and building generational wealth. But the absolute worst part wasn't the staggering amount of money she was selfishly spending. The worst part, the part that made my blood boil with intense, barely contained rage, was the amount of money she was actively making by exploiting my pain. You see, Jessica had recently discovered a dark, profitable secret that many ruthless internet influencers eventually figure out. Struggle, hardship, and tragedy generate vastly more engagement, likes, and shares than pure success. So, in a calculated, manipulative pivot, she had recently started mixing in emotional, tear-jerking posts about valiantly taking care of her sick, elderly, struggling father, and bravely sacrificing her own youthful needs for the sake of her family. Her carefully edited, emotionally manipulative cooking videos were particularly, massively popular. A recent video titled "Making Homemade Soup for My Exhausted Daddy Who Works So Hard" had rapidly garnered over 37,000 views in just 2 days. The thousands of comments under that specific video were heartbreaking in their misplaced sincerity. "You are such an incredible, selfless daughter. Your poor father is so lucky to have you looking out for him." This beautiful video literally made me cry real tears. Sending prayers. What those thousands of weeping, supportive followers didn't see was me, off camera, pulling out my battered leather wallet to pay for every single ingredient in that damn soup. What they didn't see was Jessica immediately dropping her fake, loving smile and rolling her dark eyes the exact millisecond she tapped the stop recording button on her phone. And most importantly, what they failed to see was her rapidly growing Venmo account, where concerned, kind-hearted followers had been generously sending real, hard-earned money. It had started out as small, seemingly innocent amounts at first. The digital payments were always accompanied by sweet, supportive notes for your father's expensive medical bills. To help with your weekly groceries. Buy something nice for yourself. You deserve it, Angel. By the time I secretly found her printed bank statements carelessly shoved inside her expensive laptop bag, the total amount of donated money was staggering. $8,200 collected over just 6 short months. Not a single solitary cent of that $8,000 had ever gone toward paying my medical bills. Every single dollar, generously donated by kind, empathetic people who genuinely thought they were helping a desperately struggling, loving family, was going straight into Jessica's overflowing designer purse fund. But even knowing all of that, what hurt the most wasn't the thousands of dollars she was essentially stealing from kind-hearted strangers. It was the crushing, humiliating reality of sitting quietly in this tiny apartment every single evening, feeling invisible in my own home, while my only daughter performed the act of caring for me as if my existence was just another cheap, exploitable form of digital content. She would meticulously set up her high-definition camera on a tripod, arrange the harsh ring lighting until it highlighted her face, and then dramatically call out, "Daddy, dinner's ready," in that high-pitched, sickeningly sweet sing-song voice that was nothing like the harsh, dismissive tone she used when speaking to me in private. The exact moment she hit stop on the recording, the loving daughter performance instantly ended. She would immediately retreat back to her phone, ignoring me, obsessively scrolling through her rising comments, eagerly counting her new likes, and mathematically calculating her overall engagement rates. "Nobody follows boring, broke janitor's dad," she had callously told me once when I gently asked why she felt the need to post such exaggerated, fake stories about our lives. "They follow people who have figured the system out." Figured what out? How to manipulate and turn your own hard-working, exhausted father into a pathetic, pitiful prop for internet sympathy. Recently, her successful manipulative posts had been getting significantly darker and noticeably more desperate. The once steady stream of small donation amounts was naturally beginning to slow down as her audience grew accustomed to her sad stories, so she was escalating the narrative to shock them back into donating. Just last week, her newest uploaded video was dramatically titled, "I'm Too Scared to Ask for Help, But I'm Breaking Down." The high-definition video showed her crying, realistic tears while looking directly into the camera, talking in a trembling voice about how overwhelming and emotionally destroying it was to be a full-time caregiver to a failing parent. The comment section on that video exploded with support. "You are a literal angel on earth. Don't give up. I wish I could help more. Sending you a donation right now." And they did help more. God bless you both. I wanted so desperately to create my own anonymous account and comment on every single one of those generous donations. It was directly funding her, profitable lie, but I didn't comment, I didn't confront her about the stolen money or the fake tears. I just quietly watched, and I patiently waited, and I meticulously collected hard, undeniable evidence. Because here is the one fatal thing that Jessica fundamentally didn't understand about being an invisible person. We hear every single whispered conversation, we notice every single hidden detail, and eventually, we remember everything. What hurt the absolute most wasn't the thousands of dollars she was successfully stealing from empathetic strangers. What hurt the most was that she honestly, genuinely thought I was far too stupid, too old, and too exhausted to ever notice what she was doing. She had gotten arrogantly careless over the past few weeks. She frequently left her expensive laptop wide open on the kitchen counter, never bothering to clear her detailed browser history, forgetting to lock her smartphone screen when she quickly ran to the bathroom. That was exactly how I first found out about the mysterious, sleep-inducing powder she was planning to slip into my soup. That was exactly how I learned the terrifying, devastating details about her real, ultimate plan. But what my arrogant, manipulative daughter didn't know was that I had been quietly, systematically taking clear, high-resolution pictures of everything for the past 3 weeks. I had hundreds of undeniable screenshots of her private bank account transfers, clear photos of her luxury purchase history, and even hidden videos of her greedily counting her donation money while cruelly laughing out loud about her poor, pathetic, sick daddy. Because if there is one valuable thing that 20 long years of raising a difficult child alone teaches you, it is absolute unshakable patience. And if there is one thing 20 years of being invisible to society teaches you, it is exactly how to gather devastating evidence without anyone ever noticing your movements. Jessica honestly thought she had every single person fooled. The truth was coming for her, and it was going to be merciless. The specific horrifying phone call that permanently, irrevocably changed the entire trajectory of both of our lives happened at exactly 2:47 in the morning on a quiet, freezing Tuesday. I was lying flat on my back in my small, cramped bedroom, exhausted from another brutal hospital shift, silently staring up at the cracked, water-stained ceiling above my narrow bed. That was when I suddenly heard Jessica talking in hushed, animated whispers to someone on her cell phone in the adjacent room. Her tone of voice was strikingly different from her usual act. Dangerous, no. Listen to me, Brittany. I am telling you, this new plan is going to work. Flawlessly, she whispered loudly. But cheap, low-income apartment walls are thin when you are trying to be quiet at 3 o'clock in the dark morning. I slowly, silently pushed myself out of my warm bed and carefully pressed my right ear flat against the cold drywall separating our bedrooms. The elderly abuse angle is pure, absolute gold, Jessica continued, her voice trembling with barely contained excitement. People literally eat this tragic victim stuff right up. Abuse angle. The moment those two horrific words left her mouth, my tired blood instantly went freezing cold. A heavy, sickening knot of pure dread rapidly formed deep inside my empty stomach. I know it sounds a little bit bad to say out loud, but just hear me out, Jessica argued defensively, pacing back and forth across her hardwood floor. Maybe even more if the algorithm picks it up. I physically felt like someone had just punched me directly in the center of my stomach. I leaned heavier against the cold wall, my calloused hands balled into tight, shaking fists. Brittany, calm down, I am not talking about real physical abuse, obviously, Jessica scoffed, sounding annoyed at her friend's apparent hesitation. Just, the tragic story literally writes itself. There was a long, heavy pause, while she silently listened to whatever Brittany was saying on the other end of the line. Yes, obviously I already have some high-quality content planned out, Jessica replied, sounding proud of herself. It works because he already looks so old, haggard and tired from his stupid janitor job anyway. Sleep aids, not powder, sleep aids. The terrifying reality of what I had seen her putting in my food suddenly clicked into place, hitting me with the devastating force of a freight train. The absolute beauty of this entire plan is that literally nobody is going to fact-check a crying girl's domestic abuse story, right? Jessica laughed, a cold, ruthless sound that made my skin crawl. I have already got the entire script written out. I heard her moving quickly around her room, the soft rustling of papers indicating she was searching for her notes. Okay, listen. Let me read you exactly what I have got so far, she said, clearing her throat professionally. The classic, textbook patterns of abuse that people instantly recognize and react to. She was reading directly from detailed, handwritten notes. Actual, meticulously written notes about fake, fabricated abuse. But the absolute genius part of the plan is the medical angle, Jessica continued, her voice rising with excitement. Suddenly, I am the helpless, innocent victim who has been drugged and psychologically controlled, and he is the dangerous, unstable old man who desperately needs to be stopped. My rough hands were shaking against the bedroom wall. My own daughter was actively, methodically planning to destroy my life, my reputation, and my freedom, all for some fast Instagram money. I have already carefully picked out the absolute perfect, sympathetic outfit for the big crying video. Jessica bragged to Brittany. Want to hear it? There was another short pause. It instantly became small, severely trembling, and overwhelmingly terrified. Please, but I just cannot keep living in this constant, terrifying fear. Then, less than a second later, her normal arrogant voice came snapping right back, sounding bright, normal, and pleased with herself. Good, right? It makes it seem like you are way too traumatized to connect with the audience, but just brave enough to finally speak out against your abuser. I wanted to kick through that thin drywall door and confront her right there in the middle of the night. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, to ask her how she could possibly be this evil and heartless after everything I had done for her. But something deep inside my tired brain stopped me. This was the calculated, criminal destruction of another innocent person's entire life for pure financial profit. The launch timeline is perfect, too, Jessica continued, explaining to her silent friend. Maybe even more if the story really takes off and the media picks it up. $50,000 for destroying her father. And here is the absolute best part of the plan, she giggled darkly. All the digital evidence supports the exact victim narrative I have been slowly building. She was right. It was all calculated preparation for this exact devastating moment. Brittany, you have to understand, people desperately want to believe in perfect, innocent victims and clear, obvious villains, Jessica stated confidently. Who do you honestly think the internet is going to automatically believe? I heard her laughing again, genuinely laughing about ruining my entire life. The only slightly tricky part is making sure he doesn't see the video coming, she noted, her voice dropping lower. But don't worry, I have got that covered too. She lowered her voice to a quiet, sinister whisper. I am going to significantly increase the chemical dose of the sleep aids in his soup tomorrow night. It will serve as perfect, undeniable evidence of exactly how the drugs he has been giving me have severely affected his own mental state when I managed to switch our food. Perfect evidence. She was actively planning to drug me unconscious and film my limp body as absolute, undeniable proof that I was the evil one secretly drugging her. By the time he finally wakes up on Saturday morning, the emotional video will already have hundreds of thousands of views, and the donations will be pouring in, she said, sounding triumphant. He will be destroyed. The horrifying phone call ended a few short minutes later, but I stayed firmly pressed against that cold bedroom wall until the sun slowly started rising. Quietly listening to my only child, continue to practice her fake victim voice, and methodically plan my total destruction. That was the exact moment when I finally knew, with absolute, cold certainty, that I had to act. This was not about the stolen money anymore. This was about pure, basic survival. Because Jessica was right about one crucial thing. People desperately want to believe in clear, obvious villains. And she was betting that when her tragic story came out, I would be the ugly, aggressive monster they eagerly chose to hate and destroy. But she made one critical mistake in her meticulous sociopathic planning. She arrogantly assumed I would stay quietly unconscious long enough for her lies to permanently become the accepted truth. What my manipulative, cruel daughter didn't know was that I had stopped eating her poisoned soup 3 days ago. That next morning, Thursday morning, I did something I hadn't done in over 3 grueling years. I picked up my phone and called in sick to my maintenance job at the hospital. I sat alone at our small kitchen table, with Jessica's expensive silver laptop open brightly in front of me. She had carelessly, arrogantly forgotten to close the web browser again after her late night, productive planning session with Brittany. The glowing screen clearly showed her private Google Docs file, titled Escape Plan Private. It was 23 detailed, disturbing pages of meticulous notes about exactly how to destroy my life and massively profit from it. She had carefully researched everything. Optimal social media posting times for maximum emotional engagement. Specific trending hashtags that would guarantee abuse content would go viral. And even advanced psychological manipulation techniques for appearing credible and traumatized in victim testimonials. Page 12 had a detailed section terrifyingly titled Evidence Creation. It contained dozens of clear screenshots of fake abusive text messages she had carefully fabricated using various online text generator websites. Messages that had never existed in reality, but looked undeniably real on the screen. Page 15 was extensively titled Medical Documentation. She had spent hours researching the physical symptoms of various heavy sedatives and dangerous drugs. Strong sleep aids to control her daily schedule. The absolute staggering irony of her evil plan was physically sickening. Page 18 clearly broke down her detailed financial projections. Conservative estimate, $50 in the first week, if the story gains moderate traction. Optimistic scenario, $120,000 if the video goes viral on multiple platforms simultaneously. She had even carefully calculated the estimated income taxes and the GoFundMe platform percentage fees. But it was page 21 that made my stomach churn, forcing me to temporarily close the laptop and quickly walk away from the table. It was proudly titled Long-Term Career Strategy. It outlined her ambitious plan for exactly what to do after the initial GoFundMe money stopped flowing. Maybe even pitching a profitable Netflix documentary series if the viral story got big enough. She wasn't just planning to destroy me for a quick, one-time payout. She was actively, methodically planning to build an entire lucrative lifelong career on my complete destruction. I had exactly 48 hours left before her scheduled Friday evening live stream. 48 hours to rapidly decide whether to run away, hide in shame, or stand my ground and fight back. Running away was not an option. It would instantly confirm every single horrific lie she was about to publicly tell the entire world. Hiding was not an option either. I would permanently become that guy, the horrible monster everyone automatically assumed was guilty, because the public accusations were so detailed and widely shared. That left only one option, fighting back. But how do you successfully fight a beautiful, articulate young woman who has spent months carefully building a lie so elaborate that it had its own 23-page documentation? Someone who had researched human psychology, digital marketing, and social media algorithms to craft the ultimate, unassailable victim narrative. The answer suddenly came to me while I was quietly staring at Jessica's downloaded Venmo transaction history on her laptop. $8,200 collected from total strangers who genuinely thought they were helping someone in need. People with usernames like Single Mom Struggling and Veteran Dad and Grandma Jones. Real, hard-working people with real, empathetic hearts who had been ruthlessly manipulated into directly funding my daughter's fake, expensive designer lifestyle. These were normal, struggling working-class people, exactly like me, probably agonizingly choosing between donating $20 to help a desperately struggling family or buying essential groceries for their own hungry children. They had actively chosen pure kindness, and my daughter, Jessica, had actively, ruthlessly chosen to exploit that beautiful kindness for her own selfish greed. That was the exact moment I realized this horrific situation wasn't just about me anymore. This was about defending every single real, actual victim of domestic abuse, whose public credibility would be massively damaged by publicized, fake stories like Jessica's. I firmly opened my smartphone camera and immediately started taking clear, high-resolution pictures of everything. I took detailed pictures of her extensive luxury purchase history, clearly showing exactly where the donation money really went. Then I did something I had never ever done in 20 years of respectful parenting. I went through Jessica's private belongings, systematically and without permission. In her messy dresser drawer, I found thick printouts of her official bank statements, with the donation amounts highlighted in bright yellow marker. She had been meticulously tracking her fraudulent earnings, like an organized business executive. In her overflowing closet, I found several expensive shopping bags with the high-end retail tags still firmly attached. A $400 designer leather purse she had recently posted about proudly buying with her hard-earned savings. 3 expensive designer dresses totaling over $800 that she had worn in various videos, while tearfully talking about staying positive, despite her severe financial stress. Underneath her unmade bed, I found a thick, spiral-bound notebook filled to the brim with handwritten practice scripts. They were different, slightly tweaked versions of her horrific abuse story, complete with extensive notes written in the margins about exactly which tragic details got the most emotional responses and highest donations in her subtle test posts. But the absolute worst, most devastating discovery was found hidden inside her smartphone's private photo gallery. She had been taking secret, unflattering pictures of me for weeks without my knowledge. Pictures of me looking exhausted after a brutal double shift, falling dead asleep in my worn armchair while trying to watch TV, or looking confused and disoriented when she would wake me up to ask unexpected rapid-fire questions while I was still barely awake. The dozens of photos were all carefully time-stamped and meticulously organized in a hidden digital album titled Evidence Folder. Each and every single image had been edited, the lighting altered to make me look significantly more disheveled, far more physically threatening, and mentally unstable than I was. She had been methodically, ruthlessly building a criminal case against me for months, intentionally documenting only my absolute worst moments, and ignoring every single good one. That was when I finally made my ultimate decision. Jessica desperately wanted to play the terrified, helpless victim, but she had clearly forgotten something crucial about real victims and real abusers. The absolute truth always comes out eventually, and when it finally does, the person who has been lying has a significantly more to lose than the person who has been quietly telling the truth. I had exactly 47 hours left to prepare my own devastating evidence. 47 hours to meticulously build my own airtight case against her. But unlike Jessica, I wouldn't need to lie. Friday afternoon arrived with an agonizingly slow, suffocating tension that seemed to fill our small Desert Palms apartment. I sat quietly on the worn living room couch, methodically setting my trap. Jessica had been nervous all day long, constantly checking her expensive phone, adjusting her bright ring light setup in the corner of her bedroom, and pacing back and forth across the hardwood floor. Her anticipated live stream was officially scheduled to begin at exactly 8 o'clock in the evening. According to the detailed, researched notes I had found in her private Google document, 8 o'clock was prime time for maximum audience emotional engagement. "Daddy, I am making your absolute favorite chicken soup for dinner tonight," she loudly announced from the kitchen around 5:30. Her voice carried that familiar, sickeningly fake, overly sweet tone that she always used whenever she was actively preparing for a digital performance. I slowly looked up from my spot on the couch, where I had been pretending to watch a boring rerun of a sports game on the TV, while I was secretly recording everything on my hidden smartphone. "That is really nice of you, honey," I called back, keeping my own voice steady normal, playing the role of the oblivious, tired old man she desperately needed me to be. She busied herself in the narrow kitchen, and I could clearly hear her rapidly opening cabinets, running the tap water, and creating all the familiar comforting sounds of soup preparation. But then, through the quiet hum of the apartment, I distinctly heard something else. Something terrifying. I heard the soft, distinct rustle of a small paper packet being carefully, slowly torn open. My smartphone was already propped up against a thick book on the coffee table, the camera lens pointed directly toward the open kitchen doorway. The video quality definitely wasn't perfect, but it was good enough to clearly see Jessica's silhouette as she stood over the stove, stirring something white and powdery directly into the boiling pot of soup. She had significantly increased the chemical dose of the heavy sleep aids, exactly like she had promised Brittany she would on that horrifying phone call. She wanted me unconscious for the cameras. "Dinner is ready," she finally called out, carefully carrying 2 steaming ceramic bowls out to our small dining table. I watched her closely from the couch. The smaller white bowl was placed at her spot. I made a theatrical show of checking my phone, sighing. "Give me just a minute, honey. Dad, the soup will get cold," Jessica said quickly, and for the first time that evening, I heard a flash of genuine, harsh irritation break through her practiced, sweet performance. She needed the drugs to take full effect before the stream started. "Just 1 minute, honey," I said, waving my hand dismissively. Peterson gets when the maintenance staff doesn't answer their emergency calls. I stepped quickly out into the dark hallway, pretending to take an urgent work call, while I was secretly watching her through the narrow crack in the doorway. Exactly as I had predicted, the second I left the room, Jessica immediately sat down at the table and quickly pulled out her smartphone, ignoring the food. She was probably checking her rising viewer count for the live stream she had scheduled to start in less than 2 hours. This was my exact moment. I walked quickly back into the dining room, still pretending to be angrily talking on the phone. "Sorry about that, yes, I will fix the boiler tomorrow," I said loudly to nobody, slipping my phone back into my pocket. Then, I made a deliberate show of pulling out Jessica's chair, the one with the smaller, safe white bowl, and sitting down directly in front of it. She looked up from her phone, her brow furrowing in deep confusion. "What?" "Oh, sorry," I said casually, already picking up the metal spoon and dipping it into the hot broth. "This one is fine, right?" I watched her face carefully as she slowly, terrifyingly realized exactly what had just happened. The larger blue bowl, the one laced with the extra dose of strong sleep aids, was now sitting directly in front of her. The smaller white bowl, the safe one that was supposed to be hers, was sitting directly in front of me. "I usually sit right there," she said quickly, her voice rising in panic as she started to urgently stand up. Let's just switch back. It is fine, honey, I interrupted smoothly, waving her off. Sit down, eat. I took a hearty spoonful of broth from my bowl, the safe one, and made loud, appreciative noises. Try yours, it's getting cold. Jessica sat frozen in her chair, staring down at her drugged bowl like it was a venomous, coiled snake preparing to strike. I am not really hungry right now, she stammered, her hands shaking as she pushed the blue bowl slightly away from her. Come on now, I pushed back, my voice firm. You worked so hard on it. I kept eating normally, intentionally making sure to quickly finish most of my bowl, while she sat paralyzed, staring blankly at hers. Is there something wrong with it? I asked innocently, tilting my head. It tastes fine to me. No, I just ate a really lunch earlier, she lied, her eyes darting nervously around the room. Jessica, you haven't eaten lunch at home in 3 months, I pointed out calmly. Eat your soup. She picked up her metal spoon with incredible reluctance. Maybe I shouldn't eat in case whatever I have is contagious. Honey, it is just chicken soup, I said, staring directly into her panicked eyes. The exact one you are always posting about online. I watched her face as she slowly realized she was trapped in her own intricate lie. If she forcefully refused to eat the food she had just prepared, I might finally get suspicious of her behavior. But if she ate it, she would be directly consuming the dose of heavy drugs she had specifically meant for me. She took a tiny, hesitant spoonful, barely wetting her dry lips. That is not eating, Jessica, I said, my voice dropping slightly. You look pale. Jessica nervously took another small spoonful, then another, then a slightly larger one. How little could she get away with eating before I noticed? But she had made a critical miscalculation. The exact same heavy dose of sleep aids that was meant to simply make me drowsy and confused would hit her vastly smaller system significantly harder and much, much faster. I am going to go get some salt crackers, she said suddenly, standing up from the table far too quickly. Her body instantly betrayed her. She swayed to the left, having to desperately grab the hard wooden back of her chair just to steady herself. Whoa, careful there, I said, not moving from my seat. Are you sure you are not getting sick? I am fine, she slurred slightly, shaking her head. Head rush, but she was not fine. I could clearly see it in the sluggish, aggressive way she blinked her heavy eyelids slowly. I could see it in the uncoordinated, clumsy way she had to intensely concentrate, just to walk the few short feet to the kitchen cabinet. Maybe you should just go lie down in your room for a bit, I suggested calmly, watching her grip the kitchen counter. Something fun with your friends? 50,000 people, what kind of live stream? I asked innocently. Maybe I could help you set it up. Jessica slowly turned to look at me, and I could see the absolute blinding panic actively starting to consume her. The strong drugs were already fully absorbed into her system, rapidly shutting her down. You wouldn't understand, she tried to confidently walk back to the dining table, but stumbled over her own feet. I immediately jumped up to steady her before she hit the floor. You are not looking good at all. I am fine. Just need some strong black coffee, but even as she desperately said it, her dark eyes were getting heavy, rolling back in her head. She leaned against the kitchen counter, desperately trying to physically fight off the overwhelming, crushing effects of her own poison. Jessica? I asked softly, my voice dropping the innocent act. What exactly did you put in that soup? Nothing, she mumbled, her chin dropping to her chest. I don't know what you're. She was fading fast. The specific sleep aids she had chosen were powerful, designed to knock out someone much larger, much stronger than herself. Did you put something dangerous in my food, Jessica? I asked again, my voice cold and hard. Dad, I need to. Her weak knees finally buckled. I caught her safely before she could hit the hard linoleum floor and easily carried her lightweight body over to the living room couch. Just rest now, honey, I said quietly, arranging her limbs. We will figure all of this out when you finally wake up. Jessica desperately tried to say something else, to fight the drugs, but the slurred words simply wouldn't come out of her mouth. She was out cold. Her expensive smartphone was still tightly clutched in her right hand, the glowing screen brightly showing her live stream setup dashboard. 8 p.m., start time, 50 expected viewers. I checked my watch, it was exactly 7:15. I gently pried the expensive phone from her limp hand and looked at the brightly glowing screen. Her entire plan was laid out right there in front of me. The emotional title she had carefully chosen, the tragic description promising, the dark truth I have been far too scared to share with you. 50,000 people were about to excitedly log on in 45 minutes, fully expecting to see a brave, terrified young woman finally expose her horribly abusive father. Instead, they were going to get something else. I firmly opened her live stream app and actively started setting up the camera. After all, over the past 3 long years, my daughter Jessica had inadvertently taught me everything I needed to know about creating compelling, viral digital content. The time was exactly 7:20 in the evening. Jessica was unconscious on the living room couch, her chest rising and falling in a deep, regular rhythm. I had exactly 40 short minutes before her anticipated live stream was scheduled to officially begin. Her professional ring light was already positioned. The high-definition camera was angled for optimal framing, and her extensive script notes were scattered across her tidy desk with highlighted phrases like, "Speak slowly here for maximum impact and pause right here for fake tears." Her expensive smartphone buzzed on the desk, vibrating constantly. Hundreds of rapid notifications from her devoted followers poured in, asking if she was okay, asking if the stream was still happening. I scrolled slowly through the flood of comments on her earlier, manipulative posts. "Cannot wait for tonight, Jessica. You are so brave for finally sharing your truth. We are here for you, no matter what happens." 53,000 people were actively waiting online to eagerly watch my total, complete destruction. I carefully picked up her buzzing phone and opened the live stream app dashboard. The dramatic title of the upcoming stream was already permanently set, "Why I Have Been Silent: The Dark Truth About My Father." The manipulated thumbnail vividly showed Jessica looking scared, battered, and vulnerable, with a bold text overlay reading, "Finally ready to speak." The long, dramatic description written below the video made my empty stomach turn. Tonight, I am finally sharing something I never, ever thought I would have the courage to say out loud. This is my absolute truth, my truth. She was actively planning to steal my actual truth and replace it with profitable, fabricated lies. I looked back over my shoulder at Jessica's unconscious form draped across the couch. Old, physically tired, socially awkward, working a dirty, low-income job that modern society barely even acknowledged. But she had made one critical miscalculation. I firmly opened her silver laptop and quickly pulled up all the digital evidence I had been meticulously gathering over the past 3 weeks. The incriminating, hidden photos of her intense practice sessions for crying on camera. Then I did something my arrogant daughter never ever expected anyone to do. Really reading them, at Single Mom Maria, your sad story gives me so much hope. You are always in my nightly prayers. These were not faceless, wealthy internet users or corporate sponsors. These were real struggling people with real heartbreaking stories, real financial struggles, and real empathetic hearts. Maria was a hard-working single mother who had generously donated money she probably desperately needed for her own children's groceries. Ellen was someone's sweet grandmother, probably living on a fixed, meager pension income, sending her daily prayers, and probably her last few dollars to a complete stranger on the internet. They fundamentally deserved to know the real truth. I checked the time on her phone, 7:30. Jessica stirred slightly on the couch, mumbling something incoherent before settling back into a deep, drug-induced sleep. She would probably wake up in a few hours, feeling groggy, confused, and disoriented. By then, it would be far too late for any kind of damage control. I firmly opened her live stream app and closely looked at the digital waiting room. Already 2,000 people had joined the stream early, chatting excitedly about exactly what dark secrets Jessica might finally reveal tonight. The digital comments were flowing fast, a waterfall of pure misplaced support. "Jessica, you have got this. We believe you. Take your time tonight. We are here. Whatever it is, you are not alone anymore." Their emotional support was genuine. And my daughter Jessica was fully prepared to weaponize all of that beautiful humanity directly against her own loving father. I sat there quietly for a moment and intensely thought about what would realistically happen if I just walked away right now. I could give her one final chance to bravely back down, to choose a different, better path. But I knew, deep down in my bones, that she would not choose differently. It would simply become even more powerful, fake evidence for her horrific narrative. The digital viewer count rapidly hit 5,000, then quickly jumped to 10,000, then 15,000. These innocent, caring people were actively logging on to emotionally support someone they genuinely believed was brave enough to speak her ultimate truth about horrific domestic abuse. They were fully prepared to offer their emotional support, their hard-earned financial help, and their social media amplification to someone they thought desperately needed their urgent protection. They deserved to know exactly who they were really supporting. At exactly 7:45, I made my final irreversible decision. I carefully positioned myself directly in Jessica's expensive desk chair, adjusted the bright ring light so it illuminated my tired, lined face, and looked directly, unblinkingly into the high-definition camera lens. Behind me, clearly visible in the wide frame, Jessica lay unconscious on the couch, obviously breathing but unresponsive. The viewer count rapidly hit 30,000, then 40,000, then exactly 50,000. I took a deep, shaky breath, reached out my calloused hand, and firmly clicked the bright red Go Live button. "Hello everyone," I said, my voice calm, steady, and deep. "And I strongly believe we need to have a serious talk tonight." The digital chat instantly exploded. "Who the hell is this? Where is Jessica? Is this her abusive dad? Oh my God, something is horribly wrong." I quietly watched the live viewer count spike to 60,000 as chaotic word rapidly spread across the internet that something unexpected and potentially dangerous was currently happening live on Jessica's channel. The thousands of comments were flying far too fast to read individually, but the overall tone was clear. Pure confusion, concern, and rapidly growing alarm. "I know that every single one of you is here tonight to emotionally support my daughter, Jessica," I said, keeping my tone even and unthreatening. "But before she tells you her anticipated story, I strongly believe you all deserve to hear mine." The viewer count rapidly hit 70,000, then 80,000. "Call the police right now," someone typed in all caps. "He looks dangerous, Jessica. If you can hear this, we are calling 911 for help. Someone find her exact address." I could clearly see exactly what Jessica had so confidently predicted would happen playing out in real time. In their conditioned minds, I was already firmly established as the evil, abusive villain. "My name is Marcus Rivera," I repeated slowly. "I make exactly $32,000 a year, and I have been actively raising Jessica alone since she was just 6 years old." More panicked comments flooded in. "Why is he talking? This is scary to watch. Someone desperately needs to check on Jessica." But then, slowly I noticed other, more observant comments starting to quietly appear in the chaotic chat. "Wait, just let him talk. Something seems really off about this whole situation. Why is she unconscious on the couch behind him?" I leaned slightly forward in the chair, making sure my tired, honest face was clearly visible in the high-definition camera. "For the past several months, Jessica has tearfully told you that she has been valiantly taking care of her sick, elderly father," I said, my voice unwavering. "Tonight, at 8 o'clock, she was actively planning to publicly tell you that I have been severely abusing her." The comment section went wild. "What? No way, Jessica would never lie about that. He is trying to control the narrative. Do not believe him." But mixed in with the aggressive disbelief, I saw other suspicious reactions. Honestly, this explains why she always seemed a little bit off. I always wondered about some of her dramatic stories. Wait, why would he willingly go live on her account if he was guilty? "For the past 8 months, many of you have been generously sending Jessica your hard-earned money," I continued, holding up a thick stack of printed papers. "Money for our weekly groceries, money for my expensive medical bills, money to urgently help a struggling, desperate family." I held the printed official bank statement directly up to the camera lens. This official document clearly shows exactly $8,200 in direct digital donations from kind people exactly like you. People who genuinely wanted to help a family in need. The viewer count reached 90,000. The chaotic story was rapidly spreading far beyond Jessica's immediate followers now, being shared across Twitter and TikTok as people desperately tried to figure out what was happening live. "None of that donated money ever went to our groceries," I said, my voice hard. "It went exactly here." I held up Jessica's stack of high-end purchase receipts. "The money you generously donated to urgently help a struggling family directly funded her fake, lavish lifestyle." The comments started changing tone. "Show us the actual proof." "This could be fake too. How do we know?" "Why should we believe anything you say?" "I have dozens of screenshots of her private Venmo account," I said, opening Jessica's laptop and sharing the screen directly to the live stream. "I have her extensive written plans for tonight's stream. including the fake evidence she created to forcefully make you believe I was a dangerous monster. Behind me, Jessica stirred slightly on the couch, but didn't wake up. Wait, why isn't she responding to any of this? She looks drugged. Did he drug her? That is exactly what happened here tonight, I said calmly. But not in the way you think. For the past 3 weeks, Jessica has been secretly putting heavy, over-the-counter sleep aids into my dinner soup, actively trying to make me appear confused, unstable, and disoriented for her manipulative videos. Tonight, she significantly increased the chemical dose because she desperately wanted me unconscious during this exact stream. I paused, letting that horrifying revelation sink in. But I saw her do it. She drugged herself with her own medicine. The live comments shifted dramatically. Oh my God, she was drugging him. This is insane, plot twist, holy shit. I am going to show you everything, I said, my voice echoing in the quiet apartment. Because you deserve to know the real truth about exactly where your beautiful kindness went. The viewer count rapidly hit 100,000. But first, I said, my voice dropping to a low, disgusted whisper, I want to read you exactly what Jessica wrote in her private journal about all of you. I opened her private strategy document and quickly found the specific highlighted section I had been looking for. I want you all to hear exactly what she thinks of you, I said, reading directly from the glowing screen. Once they are emotionally invested, they will fiercely defend me, even against hard evidence. The live chat went deathly silent for exactly 1 second. Then it exploded with pure, unadulterated outrage. She wrote that about us? We were just trying to help her. She called us easy to manipulate. This is disgusting. The viewer count hit 120,000. The explosive story was officially going massively viral in real time. Now, I said, let me actively show you exactly how she was planning to destroy her father for pure profit. 130,000 viewers actively watched as I opened Jessica's evidence creation folder and shared the screen. This detailed document is titled Long-Term Strategy, I explained calmly to the audience. Optimistic scenario, $120,000 if it goes viral. The live chat was moving so fast it was just a blurry wall of pure rage. She had a literal business plan for fake abuse. This is sick. She belongs in jail. She was going to make $120K off ruining him. How is this even real? I scrolled quickly to page 12 of the damning document. Look at these specific screenshots. I actively displayed the fabricated generated text conversations she had carefully created using online generators. Messages that falsely showed me sending violent, threatening texts. You better not tell anyone about this. Nobody will ever believe you anyway. You know exactly what happens when you disobey me. These horrific messages do not exist in either of our phones, I stated firmly. Look at the timestamps. I pointed directly at the glowing screen. Stop crying or I will give you something to really cry about. Now look at my official hospital work record. I held up my official stamped time card from Phoenix General Hospital. I was literally mopping floors in the cardiac wing when I supposedly sent these horrific threats. The viewer count rapidly hit 150,000. Now let's look at the financial evidence, I said, opening her official bank statements and highlighting each Venmo deposit. March 3rd. Jessica immediately spent $89 on high-end sushi and proudly posted it on her Instagram story. I kept scrolling through months of undeniable financial fraud. Single mom Lisa sent her last $20 on April 2nd, writing, I know exactly what it's like to struggle. Jessica selfishly spent it on a $40 eyebrow appointment and used the remaining money for overpriced coffee. The digital comments were pure, unadulterated rage now. I am at Single Mom Lisa, this is fraud. Next, let me show you her practice videos, I said, opening Jessica's hidden photo album titled Rehearsal Footage. The first video actively showed her standing in front of her expensive ring light, practicing different, calculated ways to look terrified. Take 1. Jessica's recorded voice said from the speakers. Save that exact performance for the real stream. The audience was horrified. She literally practiced being a victim. This is pure psychopath behavior. How long was she actively planning this? According to her detailed notes, exactly 6 months, I answered the chat directly. It was all calculated preparation for tonight. I actively displayed her content calendar showing fake, emotional posts scheduled weeks in advance. November 12th. Post about daddy looking exhausted. Need more medical concern angle. She tracked your genuine emotional responses exactly like a cold, calculating marketing campaign. Behind me on the living room couch, Jessica stirred again, mumbling something incoherent. The heavy sleep aids were slowly starting to wear off, but she was still sedated. Now for the absolute most disturbing part, I said firmly. Her plan for what to do after tonight. I opened the long-term strategy document to page 21. Phase 2 book deal about bravely surviving parental abuse. Projected value, $500,000 to $2 million. The viewer count rapidly reached 180,000. She was actively going to build an entire, massively lucrative career on destroying me. I said, my voice shaking slightly with genuine anger. But here is exactly what she didn't count on. I held up my laminated work badge, my stack of official tax returns, and my medical records. The real truth always leaves evidence, I stated, and lies, no matter how planned, always fall apart when you examine them closely. Now I am going to show you exactly how tonight was supposed to go. 200,000 viewers. I could clearly see viral tweets being posted in real time. Holy shit, this influencer was about to destroy her dad for money. Watching the most insane exposed live stream ever right now. This girl is pure absolute evil. Here is Jessica's exact script for tonight, I said, opening her final prepared document. Word for word, what she was actively planning to tell you. I began loudly reading in Jessica's practiced, fake victim voice. I never thought I would ever have the courage to share this, but I simply cannot stay silent anymore. For years, my father has been controlling every single aspect of my life through fear, heavy intimidation, and worse. The chat erupted. She was really going to say that. Read more. This is insane. It gets worse, I continued reading. Tonight, right before this stream, he tried to drug my soup again, but I bravely pretended to drink it and secretly recorded him admitting what he has been doing. I looked directly into the camera, planning this entire fraud with her friend Brittany at 2:47 in the morning last Tuesday. I firmly clicked play on the audio recording I had secretly made of her late-night phone call. Jessica's excited conspiratorial voice instantly filled the live stream. The elderly abuse angle is pure, absolute gold if I carefully position myself as the brave, terrified daughter speaking out against her abusive father. I could easily hit $50,000 in direct donations. 220,000 viewers. The chat was moving way too fast to read anything clearly. Behind me, Jessica began to stir much more actively on the couch. The heavy sleep aids were wearing off significantly faster than I expected, likely due to her rising panic overriding the sedatives. Let me show you her photo evidence, I continued rapidly, opening her evidence folder. Me looking exhausted after brutal double shifts, falling asleep in my worn chair, looking confused. Every single photo was taken without my knowledge and edited to make me look violent and unstable. I was just squinting because she had turned the bright living room lights on when I was desperately trying to sleep after working 16 hours straight. Suddenly, a loud groan came from the couch. She blinked slowly, desperately trying to focus on her blurry surroundings. What? She mumbled loudly, struggling to sit up. Then her eyes locked directly onto the glowing laptop screen, capturing my face in the live chat. Her pale face went from deep, drug-induced confusion to absolute, blinding horror as she finally realized exactly what was happening. The live chat exploded. She is awake. Jessica, can you see this? Explain yourself right now. How does it feel to be exposed? Jessica desperately struggled to forcefully push herself up, still groggy and uncoordinated from the heavy drugs. Dad. Her voice was confused and slurred, sounding exactly how she had meticulously planned to forcefully make me appear on her live stream. I am telling the real truth, Jessica, I said firmly, not turning around. Something you were actively planning to avoid tonight. She desperately stumbled toward the desk and looked at the viewer count. All the blood instantly drained from her cheeks. Turn it off, she whispered weakly, reaching a shaking hand toward the laptop. Just turn it off. Exactly like you were going to quickly turn off your lies about me. I fired back. The chat was merciless. Face the music, Jessica. No escape for you now. Explain the fake evidence. We saw everything. Jessica tried to stand up straight but stumbled backward, hitting the wall, still massively affected by the medication she had prepared for me. This isn't, you don't understand, she slurred, her eyes wide with terror. I understand, I said, my voice like ice. You are actively about to destroy my entire life for your career. That's not, I wasn't going to. Her spoken words were still slurred, making her sound exactly like the confused, drugged victim she had planned to portray me as. The beautiful irony was not lost on the audience. She sounds exactly like she was going to make him sound. Absolute poetic justice. How does it feel to be drugged by your own soup, Jessica? I turned my chair back to face the high-definition camera squarely. Jessica cannot think clearly right now, because she is under the influence of the exact same strong sleep aids she has been putting in my soup for weeks, I explained to the audience. The exact same drugs she was going to significantly increase tonight to make me appear mentally incompetent on camera. Jessica finally managed to stand up, leaning against the back of the couch for support. "You have to stop this right now," she sobbed, real tears finally streaming down her face. Your followers deserve to know exactly who they were really supporting." I shot back 250,000 viewers. The number was still rapidly climbing. I opened her private direct messages folder. Let me loudly read some specific messages Jessica recently sent to major brands, trying to secure lucrative sponsorship deals. I read clearly from the screen. "My audience demographic is perfect for your target market, people who believe in genuine struggle and real, emotional success stories." The audience was disgusted. She was actively monetizing our genuine sympathy for brand deals. Authentic lifestyle content. Everything was fake. Jessica grabbed for the silver laptop. "Stop reading those." But she was still far too unsteady from the dose of drugs and missed the laptop, knocking a cup off the desk instead. Her desperate attempt to silence the stream only made her look significantly more guilty and erratic. "Here is another one," I continued mercilessly. "A partnership with your meal kits would be perfect for my caregiving brand." "Caregiving brand," I repeated, staring directly into the camera. She turned our father-daughter relationship into a profitable brand. Jessica was crying uncontrollably now, real, ugly tears, nothing like the practiced, delicate crying from her hidden rehearsal videos. "Please, Dad," she sobbed, collapsing onto her knees. "You didn't mean to get caught," I corrected her coldly. The digital comments were relentless. Those tears look vastly different from her rehearsal videos. "Now she is finally sorry. Way too late, Jessica. Apologize to everyone you scammed." I quickly pulled up her GoFundMe draft, the exact one that was supposed to go live immediately after tonight's stream. "Goal, $50,000. Now I desperately need your urgent financial help to escape and build a new life free from fear." The viewer count rapidly hit 275,000. "Every single dollar you donated would have been stolen," I told the audience. Every single supportive comment would have been based on pure, absolute fraud. My personal phone suddenly started ringing loudly. I realized the story was breaking onto mainstream media, beyond just social media. Jessica stared blankly at all the ringing phones. She stared at the chat moving far too fast to read. Her entire plan had not just failed, it had backfired in the most spectacularly devastating way possible. "I want everyone who donated money to Jessica to file official fraud complaints with your banks immediately," I stated firmly to the high-definition camera. "Report the fraud to Venmo." Suddenly, someone knocked at our front apartment door. Hard, official, heavy knocking. "That is probably the local police," I said calmly. I looked one final time at my daughter, still weeping on the floor, ruined by her own lies and her own drugged soup. When you build your entire life on a foundation of lies, it only takes one small piece of the real truth to destroy the whole building. I said to the camera, "Stay safe." I firmly reached out and clicked end stream. The glowing screen immediately went dark. I quietly stood up from the desk, ignoring my sobbing daughter on the floor, and calmly walked over to slowly open the front door for the police.